Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude. And today we continue on with the viewer's choice build number 2, the Eduard MIG 21 PFM and 1/48 scale. So where I left off last time, I was getting everything masked and prepped for the primer coat, and then after that I can move on to the paint. However, just a real quick word on the upcoming parts of this series. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, and I've mentioned it I think early on in this, but I've done pretty much a step-by-step going through each page of the instructions on this kit for all the construction and the painting of the cockpit and any details and stuff like that. What I've found in my series of videos, that paint and weathering decals is usually where things start to fall apart as far as detail, continuity, and all that kind of stuff. So just to forewarn you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to video as much as I can and make it as understandable as possible, keeping in mind this isn't one of my typical beginner series videos. So, I'm assuming that, people watching this have a rudimentary knowledge of the way I do things and the way models and paint and all that stuff works. So, I'll touch base on things and we'll move along through it, but I'm not going to do it real detailed step by step because it would take forever. There's a lot of experimentation that goes on as I'm working on these things, especially when it comes to weathering. I never really do weathering the same way twice, just working on different things. So real quick, I'm going to grab the fuselage and show you what I have so far as the primer goes. Alright, here it is so far, and it's the first step of using the Vallejo metal color paints. I've used them before on one kit and they work really well, and therefore I'm doing it again. The Czechoslovakian version that I'm doing is bare metal finish with some painted highlights and stuff, so I'll be doing those later. But the primer I use is what's recommended by Vallejo, and that's the gloss black surface primer, and this is it. Now, it's pretty smooth. There's a few rough spots, but I had the same problem with the other kit and I didn't really have that much of a problem. The trick with this stuff is to lay it on pretty heavy, almost to the saturation point, I call it, to where it looks like it's gonna run. Not quite that bad, but just make sure as you're spraying it on, it's a really wet coat. And if you have to stop and let it cure completely and then come back and add some more, that's fine. But as you can see, there's no loss of detail with this stuff, and it really makes a good base for the metal finish. In the earlier episodes where I was masking off the canopy and stuff, it all worked really well. I was kind of puzzled for a while as to how these things work. I'm used to segments being whole pieces. For example, this here, you can see that the mask actually just goes around the edge instead of being a whole piece to go over the canopy. For example, here's the canopy here. I'm used to this part here that's glass, it being one whole piece. Now, at first I was kind of leery about these masks, thinking it's not going to work that great, but I find that I actually like them better because it's a lot easier to get them tacked on around the outside edge, because due to the width or the narrowness of the mask, it's easy to bend it and get it put in place, and then it's just a matter of taking a piece of, say, Tamiya masking tape or something like that and filling in the rest. So even on these sides here, same thing. So I kind of like that. At first I was going to give them kind of a thumb sideways, but we're sticking with thumbs up. Good stuff. So something else I'm going to have to use, there's some masks that go here, different places on the aircraft to cover different details. So what I'll have to do, and these are all green, these here, this here, this here, and this here, and then lights are, you know, whatever color they're supposed to be on each side. So I'm going to get those painted with the same green I used before, the Tamiya X5, and then I think one of the lights is supposed to be red, so I'll be using, and a blue as well, so I'll be using the gloss paints for those. So when I put those on, I'm not going to have to worry about masking over the primer. I'll just spray the colors, keep it as tight as I can, and then once those are painted, then I can put the masks on before I do the aluminum bare metal finish. So here's what it looks like here. You got this green portion down here. That doesn't really have a mask for it, so I'll have to make one, but it's real easy because it's real straight and flat, so it'll just be a matter of putting some tape, and there's a panel line right here to delineate this here. So this will be the green, that'll be that's green as well, that's green. There's a lot of parts on here that are green. This antenna I haven't glued in on, I will do that separately because I don't want to break it off while painting. Underneath I have a green patch here, which is included on the mask set, which is this part here. Then there's this one here, there's a mask for that. So I have all the masks I need. So I'll be able to paint those little parts green, and then cover them over, so they'll be good to go. I can move on with the metal color. So while I'm going to let that primer cure for a couple of days, because I want to make sure it's nice and hard and cured, and it's nice and warm in my area here, so it should get nice and cured really hard within just a few days. So in the meantime, I need to start putting together some of the weapons that are going to go on the pylons. Now there won't be anything in the center because the Czechoslovakian version has that big gun pod or whatever it is in the middle, underneath the fuselage. And I've got the pylons I kept it simple. I didn't want to go with the ones on the side, so I'm basically only going to have a couple of missiles on here. I'm not going real heavy with these. I mean, I don't know anything about loadouts on these jets and stuff. I may goof it up, and people may look at it and say, why'd you put those on there for? That's the wrong kind. Whatever. I don't know anything about them. I admit it. So I'm just going to go off the illustration here, and I'll take a look at which ones I want to use, and then that's what I'll install. But that'll be one of the very last things. But first I need to assemble them. Once I figure out which ones I want to use, I need to assemble them and get them ready so I can paint those as well. Alright, all the masking is done for what I need to mask, which is just a few small parts on the bottom. I painted this part green, there, and there green, so that's all ready to go. So it's time for spraying of the, it's kind of hard to see, Vallejo acrylic metal color, airbrush colors, aluminum 77.701. It's what I used on another kit recently, well, kind of recently, some months back, and it worked like a champ. So I'm going to use it again and hope that it works like a champ again. So I'm going to spray a coat on the bottom here, and then I will come back. Alright, here it sits after the coat of silver paint, or aluminum paint. So the next thing I need to do is I need to paint some some other metallic colors back here and here, but I don't want to do that until this has time to really cure before I start sticking masking tape on it to mask it off. So I'm going to set it aside for a little bit and let it cure up really well. And I've got a nice container to put it in to keep it out of the dust. So that's where that's going to be. So the other part I did was I did the first color on the canopy. So when I peel the tape off, you'll be able to see this color through the canopy, so it'll give the appearance of interior canopy color. Then I also, so the next part I need to do is I need to paint it with the silver or aluminum to match the airframe. I think I'm going to use a different color though. I think I'm going to use dull aluminum just so it just, you know, makes it look a little bit different. Then I'll have to mask it off and paint yellow around just the framework here on the canopy around these edges as it calls out in the instructions for the check plane. So this I'm going to set aside for now. So after that cures up and everything, I'm satisfied that, you know, it's ready for masking tape. Then I'll do the masking tape and start doing those other metal colors on the tail. Okay, so let's see. I've got the rails, the additional pods, rails, whatever you call them, painted. So all I have to do is attach those after I'm done with the missiles. And then I got the two rings here painted as close as I could figure to do them. And then I did that part right there, whatever that's called. And then I finished up the canopy. So let's take a look and see how that turned out. So if you'll remember, I painted it on the end, or I painted it with the Russian interior, cockpit interior color first. Then I did silver to match the airframe, and then I did this, the Tamiya equivalent is buff, XF57 for this frame here. So if you ever see it on the instructions, it looks kind of yellowish, but it's not yellow at all. Right here, it's more of a sand buff type color. So we're also going to take note that this silver was painted probably about a half an hour ago. And as you can see, there is no peelage of the paint. So the Vallejo metal colors are very durable. Now whenever I was doing the tail end of the aircraft here, this part here, I was going to let it cure for quite a while before I started sticking tape on it, and I thought, you know what, forget it. I just started sticking tape, masking tape, and I used Tamiya tape exclusively on it, whether it be the yellow kombucha type, I'm being facetious, and the vinyl type for where I needed to do some nice curves. Okay, but those are the tapes I used. None of them, neither one of them stuck at all. There was no peelage. There was no silver, you know, sparkly stuff on the tape as I pulled it off. So it's some good tape, I must say. All right, so now we'll see how well I did on my masking job here to see if I got any spray on the Canopy itself. We'll peel off the masks. Another thing to note, whenever I was monkeying around with the taking the tape off the back of that where the exhaust is, I tapped it a few times. Now I didn't gouge it, but I did, you know, touch it and kind of scrape ever so slightly with with the tweezers, but to no ill effect. So there's that. Now I did get a little bit of underspray right here, and as you can see, using this wooden stick here, comes right off. That's one of the nice things about using the Vallejo metal colors. Since it's a water-based acrylic, you don't have to worry about it sticking too much to the canopy, and it's easy to clean off. Okay, I'll work on that. That looks pretty good, but I'll work on that a little bit more in a bit. But as you can see, it comes right off. Okay, so I got the nice little sand framework going on and everything else. So now let's take a look at the inside. Let's see what it looks like. All right, mission accomplished. The inside, although a bit shiny, does look like the color of the inside of the cockpit. So yeah, it looks good. I like that. So this is done. Now all I have to do is I need to glue the two little photo etch parts back here and here. I glued them on and then decided I didn't want to leave them on because I needed the tape on the inside, so I popped them off, and it left the paint behind, but that is fine because that'll show me where I need to line it up again. So that is done. So that is ready to be put on the aircraft. So for safekeeping, I'll put it in my little container here till I'm actually ready for it, along with the landing gear and such. So I think that I have completed the paint portion of this kit. I painted the detail parts that needed it. There was a couple of small green areas that needed paint. I did those, so I think I'm good. So next video, when I come back, I'll start on the decal work, and there are about 6 billion decals, lots of stencils, stuff like that. I'll glue these on in the meantime, but then be ready for decals next time. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching this kind of haphazard video of the painting process. If you have any questions or comments or anything, please put them below. If you have any tips or anything like that, put them down below as well. So that's it for now. Until next time, I will see you all later.